right. Hey guys, Mr. Kyle, Myers Mathematics, and let's just jump right back into it. I'm doing things a little differently today, and I don't know, I might keep going with it. I'm doing dark screen, light colors instead of, like a standard white backdrop, and then using, darker colors to contrast. Let me know if you like this better or if you like the other way better. I kind of like this better. Um, dark mode is normally what it's called on your phone or whatever. So, anyways, without further ado, let's do number 16 here. And this is a worksheet where we have to do everything by substitution. Obviously, if you're taking a test or a quiz or whatever and it doesn't say how you have to solve it, then solve it the way that you feel the most comfortable. And if you feel pretty comfortable about both, then there are ways that you can figure out which one will be the better one to do, the one that maybe is the least amount of effort or work or whatever. But on this worksheet, we're required to do these by substitution. So that's how we're going to solve this one, by substitution. First things first, we want to look to see if we can make the equations simpler. You always want to try to look to see if you can kind of do anything before you get started kind of thing. That's always a good thing to do because it's sort of like measure twice, cut once kind of vibes. In that if you can make the problem easier to solve before you start actually trying to solve it, then and if you can, then problem's gonna not take as long. So there's not really a whole lot that we can do with this. What I'm thinking of specifically with this kind of thing is, okay, so like let's say I could divide either of the equations by 2 or 3 or 4 or something like that. Then that would make that equation a little easier to make the numbers smaller. So typically we want to do that. Same thing if you have like decimals or fractions, typically you want to get rid of those right off the bat before you start solving, because then it's just going to be a lot nicer to solve. Not really a whole lot of that going on this one. So we want to just kind of jump right into the actual solving process. If there is a variable that doesn't have a visible number in front of it, and it's plus. So if you have a plus x or a plus y, or if you have different letters, whatever the letters are. If you have a plus that letter in one of the equations, it doesn't have to be both. It could be. I mean, if you did, you'd have options, but we have at least one. And if you have at least one, you want to use that one. Again, we're trying to do the thing that requires the least amount of work. You can solve for whichever x or y you want. You can solve for the x that has the 2, or the x that has the 6, or the y that has the -5. That would be fine. If you wanted to do it that way, you'd get the answer, but you would do an extra step because you'd have to divide that number out, whereas you don't have to do that with the y that I just circled. So that's the y we want to solve for. I'm going to rewrite it over here, I believe. Yeah, so 2x plus y. And actually, you know what? I kind of like color coding these. So I'm going to make this one a yellow equation. And the other one can be the blue equation. So 2x plus y equals 20. The more I'm doing this, the more I'm like, I don't know why I didn't switch to dark mode earlier. I really like dark mode. I think I'm going to do this. Let me know in the comments if you're against dark mode or if you're for dark mode. We're going to solve for y. So in order to solve for y, I need to get rid of the x. I don't want to divide it. The x isn't being divided or multiplied by y. I'm adding it to y, so I want to subtract it on both sides. I want to subtract the entire x term so that the entire thing goes over there. So now y is equal to 20 minus 2x. And hopefully I'm not writing on my face here. I know my face is in that bottom right corner. Okay, so we've got y solved for. And then we want to plug it in to the other equation. So we want to plug it in. 20 minus 2x. Okay, and then that's going to be equal to 12. This is my blue equation, remember, so I'm writing this in blue here. Minus, and then there's a 6x there. And then there we go. So we've got our blue equation with the yellow y plugged into it. So at this point, I think everything else basically is going to be green. So this is going to distribute, and that's going to make the blue is going to combine with the yellow and make green. All right. So getting all colorful over here. 5 times 20, that's 100. 5 times 2 is 10, so that's a negative and a negative. That's going to make a positive 10, so it's positive 10x. Notice I didn't say x until the very end. It's good to compartmentalize your math problems. Don't try to think about everything all at once. It can be a little overwhelming sometimes. Really compartmentalize your stuff. I mean, don't forget to, don't like leave anything out, obviously, but yeah, anyways. So that's equal to 12. And then I'm going to combine some like terms because I've got some x's here. So 16x. I don't know how that ended up happening. I did not make that mark, but it's fine. Nosferatu. All right, equals 12. And then what? Well, and then I need to keep going. I need to solve for x. That's my goal. I was able to plug in the yellow equation into the blue equation. And the point of that substitution, that was a substitution. That's why it's called the substitution method. Is the point of substitution is to get one equation with one variable, because you can't solve an equation with two variables. But you can solve an equation with one variable. So that's the goal, is to create an equation with one variable. All right, so anyways, we're almost done here. This is a two-step equation at this point. Or two more steps, I guess, because we already had a few steps beforehand. It's going to be 112. Divide both sides by 16. The nice thing about dividing by any number that's a power of 2 is that you just half. You just keep halving it. 16 is 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. So it's 4 2's. 16 is made up of 4 2's. So if you wanted to divide by 16, you could just take half 4 times. That sounds like taking half a lot of times, but taking half, for most people at least, is easier than trying to just straight up divide by 16. Do you know 112 divided by 16 is? Maybe you do, because you just have that memorized. So great job. You're doing a great job. Or maybe you've already typed it in the calculator and you're like, all right, move on, because I'm stuck on the next part and I want you to, okay, well, you can always scrub me forward, okay? This is my YouTube channel, so scrub me forward if you need to, or fast forward or whatever, but I'm gonna do me. So if you want to divide by a number that's a power of 2, like 16, then you can just take half. Just take half however many times. So it's kind of nice. I kind of like doing it that way. I also don't know 112 divided by 16 is. If I had to take a gander, I'd say it's maybe, I don't know, 6, 7, 7? Maybe like 7? I want to say it's 7. But let's find out using the method that I told you about. So if I'm dividing by 16, I want to take half 4 times. So half of 112, half of 100 is 50, half of 12 is 6. So 56. Okay, do it again, take half. Okay, 28, take half. 14, take half. 7. Oh, look at that, it was 7. So then x is 7. Fantastico! So then we plug that in to over here. So this guy over here, we plug him in. That's going to be 7. And everything else is green now just because I decided. So, oh, you know what? I forgot to put 2 in there. Ooh. Almost made a mistake. Okay, so then 2 times 7 is 14, but that's a minus, so it's minus 14. And I get 6. Huzzah! Okay, also, by the way, if you're watching any of these videos that I'm doing on all this Algebra 1 stuff, and you're just doing it to get the answers, there's a much faster way to get all the answers. I mean, I'm not saying, like, I want you to cheat or anything, but, like, if you're trying to figure out if you got the right answer, you don't need to watch my videos. Like, it's nice to get the views and the subscribes and all that, I guess, because eventually, like, monetization is a thing. But at the end of the day, I'm here for you. And I don't know if, the channel is ever going to be huge, because I'm not trying to be like some crazy funny comedian guy or whatever. It's here for you. I'm here for you. So, like, if you're just trying to figure out if you got the right answer, you can look up the worksheet, Google the worksheet, and you can find the answers. Like, all of these Kuta software worksheets, they all have the answers in them. So you can just do that and look up the answers. You can also just Google the question and look up the answer, or you can use like PhotoMath or whatever. There's so many ways to just get the answers, right? But if you're looking for the solution, if you're looking for the process, then that's kind of what this is for here. So, and juez, we've got X and Y. Why am I still talking then? Because the problem's over, isn't it? Yeah, yes and no. I mean, it is. We've got answers. But let's say you're like me, and sometimes you get the wrong answer, even though you've done all the work and you've got answers, but they're not the right answer because maybe you messed something up along the way. How would you know? How would you know if you messed something up? Because we've got answers. We've got X is 7 and Y is 6. So how would you know if you messed something up? Well, what you could do is the equation that we just plugged into was the one where y the yellow equation, right? So that's one of the reasons why I like to color code, so that way I can just kind of say things. So the yellow equation was the equation we last plugged into to get our last variable. It's the most recently used. So if you want to check your work and make sure, like basically 100% know that you have the correct answers for X and Y, if you sometimes make little silly mistakes and you want to try to catch them, plug in both the X and Y that you got, or whatever your letters are, into the equation that was not most recently used. So in this case, the blue equation. So I'm actually going to scroll up here. Am I? Or am I going to scroll down? I don't know. I kind of want to scroll down, actually. I'll just remember it in my head. So the first equation is the yellow equation. The second equation is the blue one. So 6x minus 5y is 12. So let me copy that real quick. So 6x minus 5y is 12. All right, so blue equation. But now that we have x and y, let's plug in both the x and the y. 6x minus 5y equals 12. What's x and what's y? X is 7, y is 6. Or at least we think they are. This is why we're even doing this, because if you know that the answers are 6 and 7, there's no need to do that. But how do you know? How do you know for sure, right? So if you're not making any little silly mistakes, then this kind of thing maybe isn't for you. But if you are the person who sometimes makes little mistakes, and you don't want to do that on the quiz or the test, but you don't know how to avoid it, this is how you can avoid making silly mistakes, is not by not making them. Because at least for me, I've never been able to completely get to the point where I just don't make silly mistakes anymore. So this is kind of thing this kind of thing that really helps me and always helped me to do really well in math growing up, is to make sure I'm always checking my work. So 6 times 7, 42. 5 times 6, 30. What's 42 minus 30? 12. Ta-da! So now we know. It's still not necessarily 100% sure, because it's possible that, like, not only did you make some sort of silly mistake in the process of finding x and y initially, but like also made another silly mistake in trying to like check your work, and then somehow ended up like making just the right mistake so that you make this like make it so that you end up like confirming your wrong answers. The chances of that happening are so slim, though. They're so slim. The chances of that happening are super, super slim. So you're basically like 100% likely to get the question right if you do this on the test. Actually, I shouldn't box that because that's not the correct. That's not, the answer's not 12. But you know what? It's fine. I'm going to just leave it because we know. We know now for sure that the answers are 6 and 7. So normally I box things once I'm sure. So here we go. Now boxed because I'm sure, very, very, very sure that the answer is 6 and 7. Or if you need to write the answer as a point, you would write 7 comma 6. So like this, 7 comma 6. All right, however you need to write the answer for the test or the quiz coming up. So hopefully that's been helpful. This was kind of a long process to do for just one question, but that's the nice thing about me just going through some of these questions one by one. I was doing them like worksheet by worksheet, but I kind of like doing this one by one. And then that way I can embellish. I don't feel like I'm rushed. Although I might not do the long process that I'm doing on this question. On all the questions, it just depends on my mood because, I'm a human. So I'm going to, vary from time to time. I'm not a robot. So if I don't have a really long process on some other question and you wished I did, just let me know. Put it in the comments. I read the comments eventually. Not always right away, but I read them eventually. So I'll take a look at it. I'll see it and I'll do something about it. I'll make a video just for you if you want me to. So let me know. Not just for the algorithm, but just let me know in the comments. Um, if you want me to do a specific video on a specific math problem, any math problem really, from Algebra 1 to Calc 3, and I might be expanding that. I might be going past Calc 3 fairly soon. So more details on that. But hopefully this has been helpful. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. But I also have some content on my website, myersmathematics.com, if you want to go check that out. Or if you're looking for tutoring, then I think I have my email in all of my videos as well. So that stuff's all down in the description. Go check it out. And I'll see you in the next video.